Some years ago, in the days of my cats, I lived in the on the edge of the Cotswolds, the gate to the Cotswolds, in a wonderful place called Charlbury, where houses don't have numbers; they have names like people. And so, let me invite you back to the Cotswolds, not the chocolate box tourist fantasy of these stone cottages and the lavender fields, but the social circle of Nadine Dorries, the former cultural secretary, and by her own admission, possibly the poorest person at a drinks party where Bentleys outnumber opinions. Dorris's Daily Mail column sets out today as a sort of pastoral meditation complete with whispering angel rosé and little bits of cheese, but it quickly pivots into a chilling economic cautionary tale. It's a column soaked in gin and foreboding, a column. It's a column to compare with anything thrust up by Boris Johnson. But today we must ask, does she have a point? Does she? Whoa, do you have a point? Well, I think she does, actually. Yesterday I was saying that Lee Anderson had a point. Now I'm saying Nadine Dorries has got a point. It's almost as if I'm going native. So let's linger for a moment in the Cotswolds, this area of outstanding natural beauty, famed for its honey-coloured stone villages and increasingly its Londoner exodus. Since the pandemic, this once rural retreat has become an enclave for affluent professionals fleeing the city and finding a retreat where they can actually breathe real air without the fear that they might be breathing something contaminated. House prices have soared post-2020, fueled by cash buyers and the desire for bucolic bliss. And now Dorries notes that the for sale signs in Chipping Campden are multiplying, 38 at last count, and the market is flat. And that for her is a canary in the coal mine. The champagne classes are cutting back, and the rich are rattled, and the rest of us are about to fall off a cliff. Dorris's thesis is simple. Even among the comfortable, there is discomfort. This isn't just anecdote. She cites KPMG and Bloomberg studies revealing sharp drops in discretionary spending, even among wealthier households. There is a quiet consumer revolt taking place at the upper end of society, apparently, where Waitrose is traded for Oldie and Whispering Angel swapped for own-brand rosé. She suggests this belt-tightening has macroeconomic consequences. These are the people who drive the service sector, the restaurants, the theatres, the luxury brands, the second home builders. If their confidence collapses, and it looks as if it might be collapsing, so too might the scaffolding that supports middle-class employment. It is, in a sense, in essence, it is arguably trickle-down anxiety, not trickle-down economics. Trickle-down anxiety, a term that I offer here deliberately as a mutation of Reaganomics, not the theory that wealth filters down through society, but that panic does. And I think that's more realistic than the Reaganomics. Dorris's column becomes more global as she turns to Donald Trump's new tariff plans and what she calls the final first nail in the economic coffin. These are punitive trade measures aimed at China but sweeping up Europe as collateral damage, and they include potential tariffs on pharmaceuticals, steel and luxury exports, many of which Britain relies on, particularly post-Brexit. And Trump's protectionist instincts may inflate prices, disrupt supply chains, and damage British exports already weakened by our departure from the EU. For Britain, which is now operating outside the world's two largest single markets, a trade war is not simply inconvenient, it's extremely perilous. And Dorries is correct that Starmer's muted diplomacy has not thus far reassured industry leaders, nor cut across Trump's rhetoric. There's been no Churchillian defence of British trade interest, no Mark Carney style gravitas, just polite murmurs and very little muscle. So is Dorries correct? And this is where I concede. Partly she is. Partly she is. I suppose if you keep bleating on about something and writing column after column, You're going to get one of them right. She is right that economic pessimism, even among the wealthy, has consequences. She is right that Trump's tariffs threaten to worsen an already precarious global order. And she's right to warn against complacency, especially when British productivity remains anemic and inflation stubborn. But she falters when she casts Starmer and Reeves as uniquely destructive. The UK economy did not unravel overnight. From Trussonomics to Brexit dislocation, a decade of stagnant wages and collapsing public services, much of the rot predates Labour's tenure. This isn't to say that Starmer and Reeves are innocent of the problem. It's to say the problem started under Nadine Dorries, and she is as responsible for the rubbish as are Starmer and Reeves. In fact, Starmer and Reeves are probably incapable of sorting it out. Her nostalgic call for Team GB is undermined by the party she supported through austerity, mismanage, underinvestment in domestic resilience, and Brexit. Moreover, the very idea that cutbacks by the rich should be the economic alarm bell, while millions have long lived in food insecurity, feels morally skewed, doesn't it? Does Britain's real decline begin only when garden parties go dry? Well, I think that's when the real ordure, when the real effluent hits the fan. So is this trickle-down wealth or trickle-down panic? And Dorries offers the perspective of the elite as a bellwether for national catastrophe. This is hardly new. What's new is the overt vulnerability of the upper middle classes who have long believed themselves immune. And that's the column's power. Not economic analysis, but tone. The uneasy shift from indulgent to uncertain, from rosé to recession. But anxiety, when amplified through tabloids, I'm afraid can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If fear drives the wealthy to hoard and the rest to despair, we may talk ourselves into winter before it arrives. In the end, Nadine Dorries may not be an oracle, but she is, in this column, a kind of Cassandra in white jeans. The question now is whether anyone in Downing Street is still listening.